Occupational English Test. Listening Test. This test has 3 parts. In each part, you'll hear a number of different extracts. At the start of each extract, you'll hear this sound. You'll have time to read the questions before you hear each extract, and you'll hear each extract once only. Complete your answers as you listen. At the end of the test, you'll have 2 minutes to check your answers. Part A. In this part of the test, you'll hear 2 different extracts. In each extract, a health professional is talking to a patient. For questions 1 to 24, complete the notes with information you hear. Now look at the notes for extract 1. Extract 1. Questions 1 to 12. For questions 1 to 12, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
Nice to see you again, Tom. How are you today?
I'm okay.
So I understand that since I was seeing you that while ago, that you're in hospital again.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit more about what happened before that?
Well, it was a few months ago now. I'd done quite well for a number of years. Sort of kept it under control, really, but...
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen you since your gap year, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was 4 years ago. And so yeah, it was quite disappointing to go through it all again. But it sort of started at the towards the end of university. So I was doing law, and I was on course for a first, and I was just coming up to my final exams, and I had a few essays and a few exams, and so I started working really hard. I felt like, right, now is the real time to put the effort in and to put the work in. So I started to step a bit later, take on a bit more work, so my stress levels sort of start to increase over a while. I was drinking a lot more coffee, took a few caffeine tablets, and energy drinks. A few people, well, because sort of the environment at the time was a lot of people were pushing themselves that they wouldn't normally do, and some people were taking Ritalin.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, which and
did you take any Ritalin?
Yeah, because it was just like that was necessary at the time, and.
How did that affect you?
Well, it sort of increased my confidence at the time. Everything that was going on, I was becoming a lot more productive. A lot more confident. I was working harder. My brain was working faster, and so my momentum was building up and up throughout the period. And so I was relishing it, and I was, doing a lot of work. And
so, what did that mean to you then to be at that time? Because it sounds like you put quite a lot of pressure on yourself. You've been doing really well at uni, and this was it. This was the time. What did it mean to you to be feeling like that, kind of more awake and more energised, maybe? Yeah,
well, for me, it was my sort of time. So I'd spent 3 years. I was in control. I was doing well. It wasn't really part of my life at the time. I didn't really talk to any of my friends about it. But then I started to just sort of grow into it. And I took the opportunity to, enjoy this time. And it didn't really reach its peak until after my exams. I was still functioning throughout my exams. I have since found out that I didn't get the results that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that was?
Well, I thought that I was working harder than ever, but it was misjudged, I think, and so I didn't perform to the best of my ability when it came to the exams, and so I didn't achieve a first eye. I only got 2-1.
What else was happening for you around that time? I mean, you talked about the pressure of your exams and staying up for them. Was anything else going on for you around the same time?
Well, so it was the end of university, and that was the time where, well, as soon as that period stopped of work, then I was sort of let off the leash a bit, and I just sort of to grow even further. So I mentioned I was taking Ritalin, drinking a lot of coffee, and as soon as my exams had stopped, substance abuse sort of took a bit more of a hold, and I just sort of grew into this person who I thought was the guy that everyone wanted to be around and to see, and so I made sure that I was just everywhere that to be seen. I was,
so this is like the gap after you finish the exams, but before the results are out. Those kind of few weeks.
So we were just going out a lot, if not every night.
You said that you were taking Ritalin and drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
And using other drugs as well.
Yeah, it sort of developed into cocaine, a lot of cocaine, MDMA, MCAT.
And how did they affect you?
I honestly was on cloud 9 at the time. And so in this sort of role as the man about town, I spent a lot on alcohol, drugs, clothes. I invested in this technology. Well, having not had to deal with my illness throughout university, and for it not being a part of that world, I didn't confront those symptoms in a way that's going to have long-term sort of stability. It began with doing the work that I needed to do. That's just what I needed to do in order to achieve my goals and to achieve what I want to. And then I just let it take hold, and
Extract 2. Questions 13 to 24. For questions 13 to 24, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
So tell me when this started.
Started on Tuesday morning around 9 a.m. He started to get a few red patches right across his belly and a few sporadic on his legs.
Okay. And has he been sick prior to that?
He had just a runny nose.
Okay.
We went camping, so about Sunday morning he had a fever and he started his runny nose.
Okay, so started with fever and runny nose, and
Yep.
then this rash appeared.
Yep, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. And I know you were here in the office a couple days ago.
Yep.
And they did some blood work, and at that
Yep.
point they were pretty sure this was a viral illness.
Yep.
And I remember talking to you on the phone that it was getting purplish.
Right.
And
that was concerning because we know that can
right,
be bad
right,
things.
exactly. So you had a fussy baby,
Fussy
and
baby.
This little fellow's only 7 months old.
Yep.
Fussy with fever and then a purplish rash.
Yep.
And you were absolutely right to call.
Okay.
Because sometimes that can be meningococcus. And meningococcus is a bacterial infection that can kill you like in 24 hours.
Yeah, not good.
And so I'm absolutely happy you called.
Awesome.
So as we look at these purplish lesions, when I rub really hard with my finger, you can see they turn white. Turn normal skin color. The purple goes away momentarily and then it returns. Any rash that you can make blanch, so you can make it go away, that's okay. Especially, we'll take a look at this little guy's face here. He's still, I mean, he's not super happy, but he's still pretty alert. And that's always a good sign. When you have that bad rash that doesn't blanch and a kid who's just, this particular reaction, because we've evaluated this young fellow twice in 2 days, this has been progressive. And what's happening here is we've got bright red, pink, new rash that's actually warm to touch if you look at this rash. And as that rash disappears, it leaves a bluish, sort of almost a bruised looking purple rash, which you can see areas that are sort of purplish. Basically, this is hives. This is an allergic reaction to the virus. So what we have here is a viral infection, and his body is mounting an immune response as well as an allergic response. And hives come and go. A classic hive lesion, you can see one on this shoulder where there's got a little central clearing. It's kind of a little more whitish in the middle and red around it. That's sort of an example of a target lesion that you see with hives. The key with hives is, in general, your child is not that ill. Now, he happens to be somewhat ill because of his viral illness and fever, so that's what makes this particular situation both confusing and very important to have it evaluated by somebody that can really make sure you're not missing that petechiae and purpura, the non-blanching rash that can be associated with meningococcus. What we're going to do for this, since we know it's hives, if you're at home and you have a hives-like reaction, maybe a mild one, you're going to use something like Claritin or Benadryl, just those basic anti-hive, anti-allergy type medicines, and sometimes that's enough. In a more severe case like this, we're using prednisone. It's a stronger anti-inflammatory, but you definitely would not want to be getting your hands on prednisone without having a doctor evaluate first, because prednisone can cause problems if you're giving it to a child who has a bad infection. So that's the key. That's why I wanted you to come in. And thank you for doing that,
Yes,
coming in.
absolutely.
And he's a trooper. Now, of course, you should know that prednisone can make you really grumpy. So if you get like beyond grumpy, so some kids who are so irritable on prednisone that they want to be picked up, and as soon as you pick them up they want to be put down, and as soon as you put them down they want to be picked up. If that scenario happens to where he's just more miserable than he was before, then just stop it.
Okay.
And this is going to run its course. Because it's related to the viral illnesses often run for 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's possible his hives could last for 7 to 10 days.
Or since we're on our 4th day
Yeah.
or something like that.
You know, the other main causes of allergic reactions, we think of medications, and then we think of certain foods like
Yep.
peanuts and eggs and strawberries,
Yeah.
but usually the peanuts is the top of the list, or shellfish.
Okay.
If you have an allergic reaction to a food, you stop that food,
Right.
within 2-3 days it's gone.
Interesting.
So even though I think he had strawberries a while
Okay.
ago,
On Sunday, yeah.
you know, today is Thursday, it would have gone away if it was just from that strawberry that he had 4 days ago. So I'm fairly confident that this is hives related to his viral illness.
So it would look just like this with the food allergy possibly, but it would dissipate
Possibly.
Much quicker?
I haven't seen too many food allergies quite this severe.
Okay.
But that's the general idea. These red lesions with the little slightly raised hives are also irregular margins. They kind of come and go. That's the real hallmark of hives. Also, is that coming and going.
That is the end of
Tract 1. Questions 1 to 12. You hear a physiotherapist talking to a patient called Martin Gregory. For questions 1 to 12, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
Mr. Martin, what brings you here today?
Oh well, I had a reverse total shoulder arthroplasty surgery on my right shoulder 6 weeks ago, and I have a sling for the past 4 weeks. I've just been doing what the home health people tell me. I just can't lift anything. I have no shoulder hyperextension, and I just need to rehabilitate from that surgery.
So, you said that you can't lift things right now. How about what things does your shoulder keep you from doing that you'd like to do?
Well, pretty much anything is difficult. I can't hold anything that's heavier than a coffee cup, and I can't support my own body weight. I can't drive, and I can't really do many outdoor things like go fishing with my grandson and stuff. I also like to play catch with him. But I'm right-handed, and my shoulder hasn't allowed me to do that since I had my surgery. To be honest, I was having a tough time doing that beforehand.
Are there any other issues you face due to your shoulder, such as opening doors, or while navigating through your house?
Well, as long as I can do with my left shoulder, that's fine. But while doing anything, I just have kept my shoulder right here in the sling for most of the time. So I can't really do anything with that, like putting on a shirt, and things are hard when you have to brush your teeth left-handed. It's kind of weird, as you don't do it often.
Yeah, I understand, Mr. Martin. That's hard. Well, I know you've had the surgery. Have you had anything else in your past, like a medical history?
15 years ago I had a rotator cuff repair. I have played a lot of tennis in high school and in college, and I think doing all of that really put a lot of stress on my shoulder. So I had surgery on that, and then the past year, I have had increased pain, weakness and loss of range of motion in the shoulder here.
Now, I want to know more about your past. Do you drink?
I have a beer every once in a while.
Okay. How many times a week do you drink?
I just have a couple on Saturdays.
Okay. Do you smoke cigarettes?
I don't. I used to, but not anymore.
Okay. I'd also like to go through some other details, just to make sure everything else is fine. Have you had any history, or currently any problems with your heart?
I do have hypertension, but I take medication and that seems to take care of it.
What medications are you taking right now?
I'm taking 2 medications with some goofy names, NSAIDs and Tenormin.
Okay, those are anti-inflammatory drugs. How often you take them?
Well, I'm supposed to take NSAIDs, 1 a day for pain, and Tenormin, I think twice a day.
Do you live with your family?
Yes, with my wife Gretchen.
What is your occupation?
I was a school teacher for 28 years. So now, I mostly do stuff for leisure.
Okay, how much did you exercise before the surgery?
You know, I tried to get out, and we have a little dachshund, so I would get out and walk him every morning. I take him down to the high school, that's down from the house, and we do about a half mile on the track every day. It helps to kind of keep me limber.
Yeah, that's pretty good exercise. Now that you are moving a little bit, what do you think the pain is at right now, on a scale from 0 being no pain, 10 being the worst possible pain imaginable?
It kind of fluctuates. But, I would say most of the time, it's right around 4.
Okay, and does it ever get worse?
In the mornings, it's a little stiff, and that's probably the most painful. Sometimes, if I roll over in my sleep, and that doesn't feel very good.
Extract 2. questions 13 to 24, you hear a dietitian talking to a patient called Naomi Myers. For questions 13 to 24, complete the notes with a word or short phrase. You now have 30 seconds to look at the notes.
Hello Naomi. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. My name is Aaron Kaminsky. I'm the registered dietitian here, and I understand that you were brought to me after a doctor's appointment that you've had. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Do you mind explaining to me how that appointment got you here today?
Yeah, sure. I went to the doctor's last week and we had done some tests and found out that I have very high cholesterol, and so I have an appointment with you today, because I would like to weigh out some of my options as opposed to immediately going on medication.
Okay, great. So we'll just get started by asking a few questions. What do you generally do to start off your typical weekday?
Well, depending on what day of the week it is, I wake up between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning. First thing I do is take a shower, brush my teeth, make a pot of coffee, get dressed, and usually after that I start my workday.
All right, and what do you do for a living?
I have 3 jobs. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I do toxicology at County Medical Examiner's Office for postmortem there. The rest of the week, I work as a lab technician at Belmont's Hospital. After an 8-hour shift each day, I go straight to Ruby in downtown, where I work as a bartender and a server.
Wow. So you definitely are keeping busy throughout the week. Do you think during all these busy work hours you had time for meals?
I do. I don't eat breakfast. It usually doesn't make me feel too well. I have my coffee as my breakfast. There's a lot of fast food places that I go to in between going to jobs or on my lunch break, like Taco Bell, Burger King. There's also a Subway next to one of my jobs. Usually when I get home from work, especially if I'm at Ruby, I'm always really hungry. So I'll grab some ice cream from Friendly's.
Okay, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most stressful, do you find yourself stressed working all these hours?
I would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, definitely close to a 10, around a 9.
Okay. So, you're stressed out, and do you think that has effect on your eating habits?
Having ice cream after a long day definitely makes me feel better at the end of the day. But I don't think the stress has too much influence on my diet.
Okay, all right. So, do you live with anyone at home?
I am currently living with my boyfriend.
All right. Is there any type of exercise going on throughout all these busy days of yours?
I used to run on the treadmill before I accumulated all my jobs, but now I don't really find the time.
All right. Does anyone in your family have high cholesterol as well?
My dad is on medication for high cholesterol, and a lot of his siblings have high cholesterol.
So, it's kind of in the family?
Oh yes,